This is Betsy Renhefo, and I have got Legend with me as a horse that I'm going to demonstrate something with. Today's topic and what I'd like to show you guys is really some groundwork strategies when you're dealing with either a dominant horse or an unconfident horse. So there are two different strategies on how you would conduct your groundwork session, depending on whether or not your horse is a dominant horse or an unconfident horse. So as you can see here, Legend, he's really not going to exhibit any extreme of either one. Most likely in this demo, I'm really just going to show you strategies. So if I'm dealing with a dominant horse, there's going to be a whole lot of me keeping the horse out of my personal space, making sure that I don't move my feet and that I get my horse to move his feet more. So if I wanted to ask a dominant horse to back up, I'm going to ask by driving him backwards. So like here, he's wanting to go somewhere besides backwards. So I'm using my lead rope and communicating with region 1, which is his nose, to get control of his feet. Okay, and there he had just licked and chewed. So actually gave me a nice little demo there, because I'm not really asking him. He's starting to make an assumption, and when a horse makes an assumption, he's taking over the leadership. When they take over the leadership, that's actually dominant behavior. So what you are seeing is a little bit of dominant behavior. All right, and so I corrected that by using my lead rope and addressing his head. If this was an unconfident horse that said lost his confidence and started wandering off, I'm going to let him wander here for a second. Okay, I might drive that horse's hindquarters to get them to come back in. All right, since he's not very unconfident, okay, I ended up still touching his nose to get him to come back in. There we go. But if it was an unconfident horse, they would have appreciated me kind of going indirect about asking him to come back. So now, why do you use the two different regions for the two different personalities? If you're dealing with a really dominant horse and you think or treat him like he's an unconfident horse and he wanders off and you yield the hindquarters to bring him back, it's very likely that you might get bitten or struck depending on how dominant and aggressive that horse is. So that's not a strategy that you would use with a dominant horse. And a lot of times the warning signs will be they'll kind of come back to you with ears back. I think he actually demonstrated a little bit of that when I was asking him to come back and treating him like an unconfident horse. He kind of started to lay his ears back. They could think about kicking you. All right, so these are behaviors that you would see if you're dealing with a dominant horse. But if you're dealing with an unconfident horse, you're going to retreat. Like notice I want to move my feet backwards, okay? And ask my horse to yield the hindquarters. Because what I'm doing is I'm trying to build more draw and draw them in, okay? Because an unconfident horse usually has a lot of drive and not a lot of draw. All right, so you guys see him kind of nose me and shovel. All right, again, he leans more towards the dominant side. Okay, now he was hoping that he would kind of push me and make me move my feet. But again, dominant strategy is I'm going to make him move his feet backwards. Okay, I'm not going to allow him to move my feet. So working on draw, if I did too much with this horse who tends to be more on the dominant side, he's going to get more dominant. But if I took an unconfident horse and pushed them around the way I should do a dominant horse, so the dominant horse here, I'm going to ask him, I'm going to do a lot of sending him away, moving his feet, me doing less, him doing more. I'm going to move into his personal bubble, make him move out of my way. If I did that with an unconfident horse, that horse could probably potentially bolt from me because he can't handle that kind of pressure, because that's the kind of pressure that gets a horse to be a little bit more respectful of your personal space. which the dominant horse most times needs, whereas the unconfident horse, they need that retreating type play. So if this was a unconfident horse, I might play this way, okay? Might draw his hip in. And then as I step backwards, move his shoulder away. Okay, draw his hip in. Walking backwards, I'm moving the shoulder away. Okay, so those are the two different ways that I would play with a horse, depending on whether or not they're confident or unconfident, or dominant versus fearful. So I think that's really all that I wanted to kind of point out, is two different strategies on how to work with two different types of horses. They're either one or the other, and sometimes you might find that your horse is one way in a session, and then by the end of the session you might be playing with them in a different way, because they can build confidence that quickly. And it's all about keeping it in balance, not letting your dominant horses get too dominant and not letting your dominant horses get unconfident as you start to step up and tell them where their place is. So I think that's a wrap, and I'll talk to you guys soon.